Welcome back to the Sports Authority. Jed Musi and Local 12 digital columnist and editor Richard Skinner. Bengals 31, Titans 20. Who could have predicted that except for this guy on the Skinny podcast earlier this week?
Blind squirrel and an acorn, man.
Despite everything, said that the Bengals were going to win today. I don't know if you thought it would be by 2 scores.
No, I had a fight. In fact, in the 5 things that I do on Saturday that we put up online, I had a field goal game. And a lot of it was really based on Tennessee's struggles as much as anything else. I mean, if you look at some of their wins, overtime over Houston, they won their first 3 games by 6 points over Denver and Minnesota and Jacksonville. Their issues stopping teams on third down, it's almost epically bad how bad they are on third downs. They're bad defensively in the red zone. And those are the things that the Bengals actually took advantage of today to kind of win that game. And I also think, I got to be honest with you, I mean, the whole Carlos Dunlap just getting it behind everybody, whether he was causing issues in the locker room or not, which players said they really kind of ignored, it still hung over the team a little bit. And this maybe clears the air just a tad. It clears the air. There may be more air to clear.
Yes, we may get to that in a little bit, but let's focus on the game today. 3 offensive linemen who left the game against Cleveland did not play. And then we find out this morning around 10 o'clock that Michael Jordan would not be able to go due to an illness that's not COVID-related. Joe Mixon slept wrong on his shoulder.
I know, it's weird.
So many guys just shouldn't go to bed on Saturday night, apparently. But you had Shaq Calhoun come in and play for him. He played briefly. Quentin Spain came in. He was just signed on Friday and was really up only because they didn't have anybody else. He ended up playing the majority of the game. No sacks. 2 quarterback hits.
Incredible.
How do you explain that?
I don't know. Jay Morrison from The Athletic asked a great question to Giovanni Bernard in the postgame. He said, if you bumped into Quentin Spain on the street tonight, would you know him? And that's a legit question. I mean, can you imagine a guy goes in the huddle, hey, I'm Quentin. Hey, Quentin, this is Joe, and that's Gio. And the guy just got signed to the practice squad on Wednesday, just got signed to the active roster yesterday. And I honestly thought the only reason he's up here is you got so many other guys hurt. You got to have a live, warm body just in case. He comes in after the first series of the game and played brilliantly. He threw a key block on that 12-yard Gio Bernard touchdown run. I can't explain it. That's the goofy part about sports sometimes, right? You have what on paper you thought at the beginning of the year was going to be a really good defensive line, and it never came to fruition. And now you got all these starters down on the offensive line, which was already deemed and had proven to be not a very good offensive line. And you're playing guys off the street that signed 3 days ago. I can't explain it. I'm not even trying to explain it because you can't.
Yeah, and there at least should have been 1 sack, but Burrow was able to sort of escape and turn what should have been a sack into a 6-yard gain. But are any of these guys? Who do you think out of the if everyone's healthy on the offensive line? Who do you think of the guys who played today has a chance to maybe start ahead of a guy who didn't play today?
I got to think Quentin Spain. He started games in this league. That's the thing. He does have experience in the league with Buffalo, and so I would think he's got a legit chance moving forward to start at one of the 2 guard spots. Don't forget, you also are going to get Xavier Su'a-Filo back probably after the bye to compete as well. And after that, maybe Fred Johnson at right tackle, and some of that I think is going to be due to, I think Bobby Hart's knee injury is probably going to linger much longer than through the bye. But I also think that Fred's playing at a more natural spot. He played right tackle in that Cleveland game at the end of last year. Yeah, Cleveland had quit, and it was one of those last games that everybody just wants to get through, but he played well. They tried him at guard, didn't work out. I asked Zach this week, do you think he's more comfortable at tackle? Seemed to think, we tried him at guard, didn't really work. He's repping now at tackle. He had a good game today. So I think those guys, I would say Billy Price, but I think Trey Hopkins just played well enough. But Billy played great today. Got a game ball, for goodness sakes. Not the whole offense, just Billy. And I think that's a testament to him staying ready. I just wonder if come Tuesday, Billy's not a guy that gets shopped and is maybe no longer here, too.
Oh, wow. Okay. Another guy, Hakeem Adeniji, had a very good game. He was a draft pick this year who made an impact today. Logan Wilson had a sack. He made an impact. Obviously, what Joe Burrow has done for this team. And right out of the gate today, T. Higgins made an incredible catch on a ball that Joe Burrow looked like he was just throwing away. The concentration for T to reach up and get that ball, we're seeing that 9 to 85 connection really blossom.
Yeah, I was with you because I usually look at the game through binoculars and I like to watch offensive line play as it unfolds. I'm just kind of following Joe, and the way he flipped it, I thought, okay, smart play, throwing it away. Next thing I know, I dropped the binoculars, look up, and I go, holy cow, I think he caught that along the sidelines. It was a remarkable catch. He had a couple of other contested catches, and I think you're right. That's starting to become a good connection. I think what you're also seeing is is Joe really is trusting in everybody at this point. You know, A.J. Green had a few moments today, as usual. Tyler Boyd had a couple of big plays. That one
catch he made was incredible.
Over the middle. And obviously, Auden Tate made two really remarkable plays. One in the second quarter where he stretched for a first down when he was going to be short, and he really fought for it. And then another one that kind of sealed the deal at the end where he caught a ball along the sidelines. When you spread it around like that, I mean, that's pretty tough to defend.
It is. It is. Jesse Bates is getting a lot of love from Pro Football Focus. He has their top grade in terms of safety. And from people I talk to, they say we don't necessarily see what Pro Football Focus sees in terms of how they're grading him. A big interception for Bates in the end zone. What do you see when you watch Jesse Bates?
I see him being a lot more active and being more of a playmaker. And that's not always what safeties are, right? It's safety for a reason. You're kind of the last line. But I think he led him in tackles again today, and that's not always a good sign, but I think it just shows how active he is. The interception was a brilliant play because I don't think Ryan Tannehill ever saw him. He was kind of in the middle of the field and saw the route develop, said they'd worked on that play defensively during practice and just made a sheer sprint to where the time Tannehill threw it, he came up with an interception. That was big. I mean, it looked like Tennessee was going to answer right back, and it was almost going to be like, here we go again. This will be a shootout. They're not going to be able to keep up. Right. And that kind of at least calmed things down a little bit at that point. So I think he's playing great. I will say, I mean, he was asked that question this week, too, and he said, listen, PFF doesn't pay my check or sign my checks, and don't forget they also had him rated one of the worst safeties in the league last year. So, listen, I'm not knocking PFF. They do a great job, but I also take it with a grain of salt because they don't know all the time what somebody's responsibility is on a play. That being said, I think with your own two eyes and the way coaching staff has talked about him, Jesse Bates is having one heck of a year.
Okay, we alluded to it earlier. I haven't checked Twitter since we came out on set, but I don't think anyone has put their house up for sale. But it does seem to be that there is sort of a point of no return now, much like there was with Carlos Dunlap with John Ross. He was inactive again today. There was some scuttlebutt earlier this week where he basically said, if the Bengals don't think I want to play, maybe they should trade me. What happens with John Ross? And is there anyone else sort of in that locker room that maybe has a bad attitude as far as you know?
I don't think it's a bad attitude. I just think Geno Atkins, I think he's kind of in that same boat too. I mean, this is 4 straight games now where he's gotten limited snaps, and you can't keep falling back to the arm injury being the issue. He's become a third down specialist because they just don't value him the way they used to. They were playing him on the nose, which is kind of out of position for him. I know Adam Jones actually went to Instagram this week to make a point about that. He's a 3 technique player, not a nose. What are they doing? He's just more quiet, obviously. I don't think he's going to rustle any feathers. I think he'd just as soon cash the check, and if you want to play me 12 snaps, play me 12, and I'll go about my business. No, I mean, John this was going to come to loggerheads at some point, obviously. They've given up on John, and I think it's in fairness to John, and maybe to help them, if you can get something for him, and I think somebody would give you something late-round pickish for him, just because you're not on the hook for him financially at the end of this year. He's only going to make another $1 million for a team, so it's not a big salary cap hit for a team to do that. But, listen, I think it's been made clear. If you don't want to play hard, we're just not going to play it. And it goes for Carlos Dunlap, it goes for maybe Geno, and it goes for John Ross. And while you can argue, John Ross hasn't gotten a chance, this is 2 staffs now that have seen this, right? And so at some point you got to go, buddy, this is you. This is a you issue. John's got a lot of talent. I'd like to see it blossom. I do think there's some talent there, but listen, there's no question they've moved on from him. So if you have, then try to get something of value. Don't just let this rot for the next half of a season. That's silly.
Yeah. So the Titans, as you define them, a bit of a house of cards.
Yes.
After the bye week, they're going to Pittsburgh.
That's not a house of cards.
Not a house of cards.
No.
So
That's a house of pain.
This is the new measuring stick. We talked about. I think after their first win against the Jaguars, they played the Ravens, and that was the measuring stick. It's another measuring stick going to Heinz Field.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go with a makeshift offensive line. I can tell you that right now. They found a lot of different ways to win. They've won with Ben throwing the ball all over the place. They've won it with Ben dinking and dunking. They won today, being outgained 2-1, 457 to 221 yards, but got 4 takeaways to 1. They got a pick 6. They're finding a lot of different ways to win. That defense is clearly legit. So yes, it's a great way to put it. It is a great measuring stick because I think you've seen against those 500-ish to below, and while Tennessee was above, I don't think they're a whole.
Sure.
And they still may win their division. I just don't think they're very good. They're more than capable of being in those games. Baltimore is light years better. Pittsburgh is probably light years better. But let's see how closer you've come, maybe since that Baltimore game, to a team that is light years better than you are.
And there won't be a crowd in Pittsburgh.
There's that.
So maybe that will help as well. Richard Skinner, thanks so much. You can see all of his work on our website, local12.com.